Beyond the Winning Post is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
So this is the Equine Centre, Emily, that was built in 2016. And we're just going to walk around now and have a look. There's the stable boxes there. This is a horse here that's had a fairly significant eye infection. So this tube is actually, it's called a subpalpebral lavaging tube. It allows medication to go into the eye from a distance. So you actually put it in around there. So the horses have become very difficult to medicate their eyes, 4-6 times a day. They get really, very protective, and it becomes really difficult. So this tube actually sits underneath the eyelid, and the medication is delivered through the tube into the eye 6 times a day. And they tolerate the tubing really well. So it's got a really nasty eye infection in there that's full of fibrin and white cells.
Curable?
Yep. Some of them end up losing an eye when they get a really bad ulcer and eye infection, but most of them come right.
How did you end up becoming a vet here in Cambridge?
Well, I was living and working in Australia for a year between 85 and 86, and then I always wanted to come to New Zealand to practice, and as it turned out, in a pure horse practice in Hamilton. And a bit of a long story, Emily, but it's very much sort of life being in the hands of fate and timing. But I was in a bar in Sydney with an Irish friend, and he was coming to New Zealand at the same time, and he said to me, look, there's a couple of jobs going in New Zealand. He said, how about we toss a coin and see who goes where? He said, there's one in Wanganui and one in Hamilton. He said, why but heads you go to Hamilton, tails I go to Wanganui. So I ended up in Hamilton, and I loved the practice, I enjoyed the clients, I loved the area, and I've been here ever since. And he went to Wanganui and he did his Logan for 4 months, and then he went back to Ireland via Western Australia. But
so that is fate.
So that was fate, yeah. I mean, whether I would have stayed in Wanganui or not, I don't know, possibly not, but the Waikato certainly is a very appealing and pleasant part of New Zealand to work in. Doesn't matter what you do, but in horse practice it's fantastic. Love it. We're at Murray Baker and Andrew Forsman's stable, and we're going to vaccinate a filly. We do a lot of horses in training now, young horses, and we vaccinate them against respiratory disease primarily. And our sort of philosophy is it's a lot better to prevent rather than treat. So every horse in here now is vaccinated against one particular respiratory virus and against strangles as well. So it's really good. It's certainly helped reduce the incidence of coughs and colds and respiratory infection.
Would that be like me going and getting a vaccination? Similar thing?
Yes, it would. Yeah. So we give them 2 or 3 vaccines at fortnightly intervals.
Okay.
So this is our filly here we're going to do.
Yep.
And she's a very well-bred filly. She's owned by a friend of mine who raced her grandmother in the Melbourne Cup.
Oh, wow.
Champagne. And she's a very promising filly. We're going to inject her in her chest.
Okay.
We always put vaccinations in the chest muscle. There you go. That's one.
After they've had this, is there any limit on them racing or
No.
stand down period or anything?
Well, we give them a day off, and that's about all. Occasionally just the vaccine, just like us when we get a flu vaccine, you feel a bit flat for a day. So we just give them a day off tomorrow. That's all.
That's it, simple as that.
So she gets another one in 2 weeks, and then she'll get one in 4 weeks. And that's her course. Then we give her a six monthly booster of both of them.
Okay.
So they're all done like that now.
Yep.
So we're next door now at Kingsclear Stables, which is run by Roger James and Robert Wellwood. And we are going to run some x-rays on a horse. It's got a little bit of swelling in a joint. We just want to make sure that there's nothing seriously wrong with the horse or the horse's joint, and if it's all fine, it can carry on training. If it's not, then it'll be turned out and have a break. So the other thing we do, because we're working around the hind end of a horse, we're x-raying hind legs here, is give the horse a little bit of light sedation. Just takes her mind off things, his mind off things in this case, and it's safer for nurses who are holding x-ray plates, safer for me, safer for you if you're holding the horse, and safer for the horse itself. He doesn't get a fright, and they come through this sedation very, very quickly. Usually in about sort of 15-20 minutes they wake up again.
We've come to 2 racing stables now.
Yep.
Is it only racehorses that you cover?
About 95% it would be, maybe 90, and then I do a bit of obviously yearling work and foal work as well. Look, I'm really interested in lameness issues involving horses, or just general poor performance, why they don't perform as well as the trainer or the owner hopes they perform. And there's a lot we can do to look into that, and do what's best for the horse, obviously, and hopefully get an improved performance, down the track.
So you're about to sedate the horse?
Yeah. So the horse has got a very prominent jugular vein, one on both sides. I'm left-handed, so I always find it easier injecting on the right side, and we just slip the needle in, and usually tolerate that very well. We inject that sedation nice and slowly.
And how long does that take to take?
Probably about sort of 4 or 5 minutes. You'll be ready to do, or even less. He's a very relaxed horse. He's a 5-year-old. Younger horses are a bit more agitated. They're a bit more wound up, so they don't respond quite as well to the sedation. They take a bit longer. But older horses like this, they settle down really quickly. So we'll take him out here and just x-ray him on the concrete here.
Is it as simple as that? That's just
That's
the picture?
one shot, and then it comes up there on the viewing panel there.
Doug, why do you do what you do?
Well, that's a good question. It's a pretty demanding job, but it's a really enjoyable job. It's a very satisfying job. It encompasses a whole lot of different aspects of medicine, but also primarily for the love of the animal. I mean, we all love working with horses. We love horses. And I think if you didn't really enjoy that aspect of it, it would make the days pretty long, but there's never enough hours in the day. So it's a very satisfying, enjoyable job from that point of view.
There's such an element of fate to your career here in New Zealand. Are you glad you got that flip of the coin?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I've never regretted staying here and working in this part of New Zealand, in the Waikato. It's the centre of horse country, and I work with some really good people, both within the profession and within the industry. Very good horsemen and horsewomen, and outstanding veterinarians, so I'm very fortunate.